Hello, whispers in the dark viewers. In today's video, I will tell you The Haunting Whispers of Alderwood story. You may feel scared while listening to this story. If you are ready for horror and mystery, let's start. The night draped Alderwood like a heavy, suffocating blanket. Moonlight filtered through dense pine trees, casting long shadows across weathered wooden houses and empty streets. The town breathed with a silence that felt more like a held breath than true quiet. Alex Turner's small apartment sat above the local newspaper office, a modest space cluttered with stacks of old editions, investigative notes, and half-empty coffee mugs. At precisely 3:07 a.m., the phone rang, a sharp, jarring sound that sliced through the night's stillness. He reached for the receiver, his journalist's instinct more alert than his drowsy state. "Turner," he mumbled, expecting a late-night tip or wrong number. The voice that responded was neither. Soft, intimate, impossibly knowing. "You remember the creek behind your childhood home, Alex? The day everything changed." His hand froze. The words carried a weight that instantly banished sleep, sending a chill down his spine. No one in Alderwood knew about that day, not anymore. Not after he'd spent years burying those memories. "Who is this?" Alex's voice was a razor-thin whisper. Silence, then a low, almost melodic chuckle that seemed to vibrate through the phone line. "Some secrets never stay buried, Alex. Not in a town like this." The line went dead. For several minutes, Alex sat motionless, the phone still pressed against his ear. The caller knew something personal. Something that connected to the traumatic incident from his past that had driven a permanent wedge between him and his family. By dawn, the strange call might have seemed like a bizarre dream, but Alex Turner wasn't one to dismiss strange occurrences. As a local journalist who had built a reputation for uncovering hidden stories, he knew that every strange event had a thread of truth waiting to be unraveled. The morning brought an unsettling undercurrent to Alderwood. At the local diner, conversations were hushed. Residents exchanged nervous glances. Sarah Mitchell, the town librarian, caught Alex's eye from across the room. Something was different, a tension that hadn't existed just days before. "Strange night." Sarah approached his table, her usual calm demeanor tinged with an edge of anxiety. Alex nodded, studying her. Sarah had always been a perceptive figure in town. Quiet, intelligent, holding more knowledge than she typically revealed. "You've noticed something too? People are talking," she said carefully, sliding into the booth across from him. "Rumors of late-night calls. Whispers about secrets being revealed." Her fingers traced the rim of her coffee cup. "Have you heard anything?" Before Alex could respond, Tom Hargrove entered the diner. Once childhood friends, now more like reluctant acquaintances, Tom carried himself with a charismatic arrogance that seemed to fill the room. He nodded curtly at Alex, his eyes holding a hint of something unreadable. Challenge, perhaps, or concealed knowledge. Throughout the morning, more stories emerged. A local shopkeeper who had suddenly stopped speaking. A farmer who had destroyed his own equipment after a mysterious phone call. Small incidents that individually meant nothing, but together suggested something systemic was happening. By noon, Alex had filled 3 notebook pages with observations. The call he'd received wasn't an isolated incident. Something was moving through Alderwood, something that targeted people's deepest, most hidden truths. As he reviewed his notes in his small office, the phone rang again. For a moment, he hesitated, remembering the night's call. But a journalist doesn't ignore potential stories. He picked up the receiver. Silence greeted him. Then, a distant whisper. "The truth is coming, Alex. Are you ready?" The line went dead. Outside his window, Alderwood looked peaceful. But beneath that tranquil surface, something dark was stirring. A force that threatened to expose every buried secret, every hidden trauma. And Alex Turner was about to be at the center of it all. The air in Alderwood seemed heavier, weighed down by an unspoken dread. Alex Turner, armed with his worn notebook and a digital recorder, began his investigation. The phone calls were no longer whispers among the town's gossips. They were a storm brewing beneath the surface, tearing through the fabric of Alderwood's eerie calm. His first stop was the home of Martha Klein, a shopkeeper whose sudden silence had caught his attention. The blinds were drawn, the porch cluttered with unopened mail. Martha, a woman once known for her sharp wit, now sat in her dimly lit living room, eyes wide and unblinking. "It's the voice," she muttered when Alex asked her what had happened. Her hands trembled as she gripped the armrest of her chair. "It knows things I've never told anyone." "How is that possible?" Alex pressed her for details, but her answers were fractured, scattered between sobs and muttered prayers. What he did piece together chilled him. The voice had named a secret Martha had buried for over 3 decades, a betrayal that had haunted her but never surfaced, until now. At the edge of town, Alex interviewed Roger Ellis, a farmer who had destroyed his own equipment. Roger's weathered face was etched with paranoia, his eyes darting toward shadows that didn't exist. "It's him," Roger spat, pacing. "Bill. I know it's Bill, even though he's dead. How else could he know about the deal I made?" "Bill who?" Alex asked, his pulse quickening. "Bill Mathers," Roger whispered, his voice trembling. "He's been dead for 20 years. The name struck a chord. Bill Mathers had been a recluse, the subject of local rumors even before his mysterious death. Alex jotted the name down and promised himself he'd dig into the archives later. As the day unfolded, chaos rippled through Alderwood. At the diner, 2 lifelong friends erupted into a fistfight over accusations neither had ever voiced before. At the edge of town, a young woman screamed at an empty field, claiming she could see the shadows of her worst fears manifesting. Alex and Sarah Mitchell regrouped at the library, poring over town records. "Bill Mathers' death wasn't natural," Sarah said, pushing a dusty folder toward Alex. "He was found at the base of the old water tower. Some said he jumped. Others whispered that something drove him to it." Alex sifted through the documents, noting the eerie parallels between Bill's life and the town's current state. Both were marked by secrets unearthed and lives shattered. "It's as if his death left a wound," Alex mused. "And now, that wound is festering." Meanwhile, Tom Hargrove became the loudest voice of dissent. At a hastily organized town hall meeting, he scoffed at the rising panic. "This is a small-town hysteria," he declared, his charisma swaying the uneasy crowd. "We've survived worse. This will pass." But as Tom spoke, Alex noticed his hand trembling. For all his bravado, even Tom wasn't immune to the call's reach. Something had shaken him, though he'd die before admitting it. Late that night, back in his apartment, Alex's phone rang again. His hand hovered over the receiver, dread pooling in his chest. When he finally answered, the voice was waiting. "You blame them, don't you, Alex?" it whispered. "Your family. For what happened. For the creek. For the silence after." The words hit like a punch to the gut. Alex's mind raced back to that summer day, a rift between him and his family that had never healed. "What do you want?" he demanded, his voice raw. The chuckle came again, low and mocking. "The truth, Alex. Always the truth." The line went dead, leaving Alex alone with the memories he had spent a lifetime avoiding. As the darkness of Alderwood deepened, the unraveling continued. The call lingered in Alex's mind like a shadow, impossible to ignore. Sleep came in fits, his dreams haunted by images of the creek behind his childhood home. He could almost feel the cold water on his skin, hear the echo of voices from a day that had fractured his world. The guilt, buried but never gone, bubbled to the surface, leaving him raw and exposed. Morning brought little relief. Sitting at his desk, Alex thumbed through old family photos he had buried in a drawer. In one, he saw himself as a boy, smiling beside his younger brother. The photo was taken before the creek, before everything changed. The phone's accusations weren't just words. They were an unearthing of a truth he'd tried to forget. That afternoon, Alex sought out Tom Hargrove. He found him at the edge of town, leaning against his truck, watching the horizon with a grim expression. "Tom," Alex called, striding toward him. "We need to talk." Tom smirked but didn't turn. "Still chasing shadows, Turner?" I'm chasing answers, Alex shot back. And I think you have some. Tom's smirk faltered. After a moment, he turned, his eyes hard. You think you're the only one who's had secrets dragged into the light? The calls are tearing this town apart. But that's just an opportunity if you know how to use it. Alex's stomach turned. What are you talking about? Tom shrugged. Panic is power, Alex. People are scared. They'll cling to anyone who promises safety. I can be that person. You're exploiting this? Alex's voice rose, disbelief mingling with anger. People are suffering, Tom. People have always suffered, Tom said coldly. I'm just the first to admit it. At the library, Sarah Mitchell made a discovery. She handed Alex an old, leather-bound diary. The name scrawled inside was familiar, Bill Mathers. The entries were erratic, the handwriting uneven, as if Bill had written them in moments of desperation. They whisper at night. I can't sleep. They know what I've done, what I've hidden. The phone calls. They're not normal. They're punishment. Sarah looked at Alex, her expression grim. This isn't just about secrets, Alex. This is about guilt. And whatever's happening is feeding off it. As the day wore on, Alex and Sarah found solace in each other. Over cups of coffee in Sarah's office, they shared their fears. Sarah spoke of her struggle with isolation, her fear of never truly belonging. Alex, in turn, opened up about his estrangement from his family and the guilt that had plagued him since childhood. You don't have to do this alone, Sarah said softly. Her hand brushed his, a brief but grounding connection. For the first time, Alex replied, I don't think I want to. That evening, the town spiraled further into madness. At the community center, a meeting meant to restore order devolved into chaos. Accusations flew, residents turned on each other, and a fight broke out. Alex tried to intervene, but the tension was too great, the fear too consuming. A window shattered, a chair was thrown, blood was spilled. The madness had taken root, and Alderwood was tearing itself apart. As the night deepened, Alex sat alone in his apartment, the chaos replaying in his mind. He looked at the diary, the words etched into his thoughts. Their punishment. The phone rang. Alex didn't hesitate this time. He picked it up, his voice steady. I'm not afraid of you. The voice on the other end chuckled. Not yet, but you will be. The truth always finds its way out. Alex, can you handle it? The line went dead. For the first time, Alex wasn't just afraid, he was determined. He stared out his window at the darkened town, the weight of its secrets pressing down on him. I'll find you, he muttered. I'll find the truth, and I'll end this. The air in Alderwood felt heavy, charged with a static unease that pressed down on its inhabitants. Alex Turner sat in Sarah's office, the leather-bound diary spread out between them. Every word they read pointed to one conclusion. The voice wasn't just a ghost or an intruder. It was a force born from Alderwood itself, feeding on the secrets and guilt buried within its people. We need to end this, Alex said, his voice firm but low. If we don't, this town will destroy itself. Sarah nodded, her fingers tracing the edge of the diary. The woods, she said, her voice barely above a whisper. It all leads back to the woods. That's where Bill wrote his final entry. That's where we'll find it. By dusk, Alex and Sarah had gathered a small group of townspeople, those who seemed immune to the chaos. Among them were Maria, a schoolteacher with a steel resolve, Henry, the retired sheriff who had seen too much in his lifetime, and James, a quiet mechanic who had lost his wife to the madness. Together, they formed a fragile alliance, bound by a shared desire to save their home. As they made their way into the woods, the silence grew oppressive. Shadows twisted and danced between the trees, and the faint sound of whispers echoed around them, growing louder with every step. It knows we're coming, Sarah murmured, gripping Alex's arm. It's waiting. The clearing appeared suddenly, bathed in an unnatural glow. At its center stood a figure. Not flesh and blood, but a shifting, spectral form that seemed to pulse with malevolence. Its voice resonated, not from the figure itself, but from the air around them, a chorus of whispers layered over each other. You think you can silence me? It said, its tone both mocking and sorrowful. I am every lie told in this town, every sin buried. I am Alderwood's truth. Alex stepped forward, his heart pounding but his resolve unshaken. You're not truth, you're fear, you're guilt, and you've taken enough from us. The figure's form twisted, growing larger, its voice booming. You cannot escape me. You are all part of me. The confrontation began in earnest. The air crackled with energy as Alex and the group fought against the manifestation. Sarah read passages from the diary aloud, her voice steady even as the figure writhed in anger. The others formed a circle, holding torches and shouting over the din, their voices defiant. You have no power over us anymore, Henry bellowed, his voice cutting through the chaos. But the figure's attention was on Alex. It loomed over him, its form flickering, revealing glimpses of faces from his past. His brother, his father, himself as a boy. You carry the heaviest guilt of all, Alex, it hissed. You abandoned them. You ran. Alex froze, the weight of the accusation threatening to crush him. But then he remembered Sarah's words, the diary's revelations, the truth he had uncovered. He didn't have to run anymore. I did run, Alex admitted, his voice breaking. But I'm here now, and I won't let you take this town. With a deep breath, Alex reached into his pocket and pulled out the photo he had found earlier, the one of him and his brother at the creek. He held it up, letting the figure see. This was my past. It's not my future. The figure shrieked, its form beginning to unravel. The whispers turned to screams, then to silence. One by one, the torches around the clearing dimmed, and the unnatural glow faded. As dawn broke, Alex and the group emerged from the woods, exhausted but alive. Alderwood was quiet again, the tension that had gripped the town now replaced by an eerie calm. But the scars remained, both on the town and on its people. In the following days, Alex and Sarah worked to help Alderwood begin to heal. The truth behind the calls became part of the town's history, a cautionary tale about the cost of secrets and the power of confronting the past. Standing on the steps of the library, Alex looked out over the town, now bathed in the golden light of a new day. Sarah joined him, her presence a comforting reminder that he wasn't alone. It's not over, she said softly, but it's a start. Alex nodded, a faint smile on his lips. We'll get there, one truth at a time. The story of Alderwood ended not with a triumph over evil, but with a promise to face the shadows of the past and move toward the light of the future. And for Alex Turner, it was a new beginning, one built on truth, resilience, and hope. Thank you for watching this video. I hope you liked our video. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel, like our video, and share your thoughts with us in the comments.